on with the unboxing of the crashed Ranger with a reflex. It says it's simple assembly, optional floats, and it's rigid. Got a 20 amp ESC, interesting, and a springy front end. Hey YouTube, what's going on in the shop tonight? FMS 1220 millimeter Ranger. So my friend, hold on, Brutus is he's loinking the pig, so I thought I had an hour. Hang on, hold that thought. We still got the hour. Pretty sure. Hey YouTube, it's Sean, Griffin RC Planes. We got an FMS Ranger, 1220 millimeters. They had to sneak that other 20 in, huh? So it's a 1220. We'll measure that. We'll see. So this belongs to my friend, and he had a small accident, an oopsie, a crash, what have you, and busted off the front wheel. And he was saying that he looked at various websites looking for replacement parts about the front wheel, and he couldn't really make out exactly what was going to come if he bought the replacement. You know, maybe what he would buy he doesn't need. You know, I said, well, hold on, before you go buy anything, let me see what I can do. Maybe we can fix it without having to buy any parts. So, never know. And he also mentioned that in the instruction manual here, that the instructions on connecting the receiver from the reflex, he said it was a little confusing. So let's see if we can make that out, and hopefully that can help some folks out too. So I say we get it out of the box. I haven't seen it yet together. This is how I got it, just like that, and then like this. My dog is down here licking my leg. Hang on. Before we get this thing out of the box, if my videos do anything for you, give me a thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed. A bunch of people have unsubscribed. That's the best way to support what I do. So thank you so much. All right, now on with the unboxing of the crashed Ranger with a reflex. It says it's simple assembly, optional floats, and it's rigid. All kinds of specifications right here. It's got a 20 amp ESC. Interesting. It's got a 10x5 prop and a recommended 3S 1300. And a springy front end. Alright, hang on. Alright. So I got a video in between the air conditioner kicking on. But that's something. Look at that. I think I loaned that to him a long time ago, and that's a way of him giving it back to me. That's awesome. Thank you, Patrick. I mean, he put it back in the box just like it came. So I've got a stand ready for it. Let me show you guys what all was in the box, except for the wings. So it comes with floats, and it came with all the hardware to install them. And then, this is the first time I've ever seen floats, and it's really cool that it has a steerable rudder, and there's your servo plug that you just use a Y harness and plug it into the rudder on the plane. So that was really cool. And it came with another Y harness, and then obviously the landing gear, spinner. But here's something that I wanted to point out to you guys. So this has the reflex in it, which is FMS's version of the stability and a self-leveling, right? But it came with this. Here's a USB 2.0 or A, we'll call it, to the USB-C, and that is for the reflex that you might need to update it. Or if you want to take the reflex out of here and put it in something else, you can select other models on the FMS models website and say erase the Ranger out of the reflex and put the their pits into it or what have you. So I thought that was really cool that they included this USB adapter right here. That's pretty cool. Okay, get the other camera and let's look at this nose gear. Alright, so we got an airplane on a stand. We got the front landing gear, manual, handful of tools. One thing I want to get rid of, two things, to take the prop off, and we'll take this linkage off here so I don't take a chance on messing it up. Little tiny propeller. What is that? 10 by 5, I think. Get off of there. There we goes. Backing plate come off. We might need to get to that in a second. So, front wheel's busted. Let's get her flipped over here. Alright, let's see what we got going on here. Hang on, look at this. Hold on, Don. Alright, so first we'll look at this landing gear. I thought it was broken. It's not broken, so this is notched on purpose. It's a keyway. There's a hole in the center for a screw, and this is interesting. So it goes in there, right? But here's where it lines up and where that keyway goes. See that hole right there? So this wheel is going to come up to the center. So that makes it pretty good and rigid. But what goes on top of that is, I just saw it flopping around. See it right there? He said when he was putting it on, it was way out of alignment. So it'd be easy to get that 180 out. So let's see what I need to do to get that guy out of there. I think I'm just gonna loosen up this set screw right here and just fish this whole rod out of there. I got a little Allen driver. All right, then I got some old needle nose pliers. There's no screw in his top of that servo right there either. So that doesn't come out. Definitely doesn't come out that way. So it comes out this way. Maybe. Well, that doesn't come out either. We need to get this out so we can look at it and make sure it's going to do what it's supposed to do. All right, got her out like so. So let's take a look at everything here. So we got our busted wheel, and we got this gizmo that goes on top of it. So nothing is broken. We just need to align it, make sure a screw will go in here, and make sure it'll tighten up. And look at this. Inside the manual here, screw the wheel and the servo. I'll be darned. There's the servo. Oops. Well, no, we didn't tear any other directions. So there's a screw in here. There it is. So we need to make sure that this wheel screw still goes in the wheel and tightens up. Feels good to me. So now let's put the put this other keyway top on it. And then we'll run the screw back down there again and make sure that it'll tighten it up really good. And I would say that's awesome. That tightened up beautifully. So we just need to figure out which way the linkage needs to be on what side of this. So when he's turning, it's not backwards. He said every time he installed it, it seemed like the wheel was cockeyed or something. So let's get this guy back on the on this rod here, if I can remember how it came off. Okay, so I looked at it again where this notched keyed, where the match is in this thing is on the opposite side of where the linkage is. So we want to get it, we can rotate it once we get this in there. So I'm just trying to get it centered up and held while boy, I'm not gonna lie, that was tricky to get lined up. But the wheel is now connected. It's in there flush. And the linkage rod does need to be on that side. So we need to get the linkage on this side of the servo, or maybe it wants to go on this side. Well, I need to see how the rudder's going. So let me get a servo driver and let's center that servo and then get the rudder and the wheel centered. Hang on. All right, so we'll do a little recap real quick. So the front wheel plugs up into the bottom of the fuselage, you know, right there. And it's keyed and it slips into this thing. So the front wheel is plugged into that. And this screw holds the two together. And then this rod is coming back from this steering wheel. And it's going to the rudder servo, where one rod goes to the back to drive the rudder, and the other rod goes forward to steer the steering wheel. So we need to get that servo centered. So I unplugged it, and I have an extension right here. And I'm going to plug the extension into my servo tester. And then I have a battery. And then it's now on neutral. So it's centered. And I'm going to leave this plugged into it. And I want to center this servo horn where they're 90 degrees. So coming off the servo is straight as can be. So one rod goes back to the rudder. The other rod goes forward to the wheel. So let's see how centered we can get it. I'm using the rudder to help control this thing. That's about center on the rudder. Get the screw. Stays centered right there. We can adjust the linkage on the rudder and stuff. the screw was so small I had to get another tip. Look how tiny that one is. I knew that was going to happen. So that tip probably wasn't magnetized. So I get this little magnetize and demagnetizer. This bottom slot is magnetized. So you just take your screwdriver and run around there a little bit. And now I'm going to try to get our screw out. Now the screw is sticking to the screwdriver. So maybe it will stay on there better this time. And it did. So we just needed to magnetize the old screwdriver. And that tightened up pretty good. So we need to straighten up the rudder. That's for sure. So now I'm going to take my servo tester. And I'm going to turn my dial to about where center is. And I'm going to click the button twice to go from auto up to manual where we can operate it. So when I hit it one more time, it's going to go to neutral. And it really didn't move all that much. So let's go back to manual. And it can turn quite a ways in that position. So we'll leave it. It's back to center. Let's leave it right there and see if we can get the front wheel centered and the rudder centered without having to move the servo arm on the servo. So I'm leaving it plugged up. So we've got our servo horn about 90, as close as we can get it. And our front wheel is, let me flip it over here. So our front wheel is straight, and we have it plugged in to the receptacle of where it goes. And now I know what Patrick was talking about. He said when you get it on there, he said it'll be crooked. And sure enough, it is. So being that all of our linkage and servo connections should be 90, 90, 90. Like this servo horn is 90, and the linkage rod going back, that's a 90. Then the linkage rod going to the steering wheel is 90. This should be 90. Right where this linkage rod is should be about here, because that's not going to give it much room to turn in one direction or another. So I'm going to take my servo tester and put it on manual. And now we're going to turn the steering wheel and see if there's enough wiggle room to turn. See, it's not. Let me look at this for a minute. Front gear. Even this spring's in bad shape. The slot is not straight with the wheel. So it needs to be twisted back, and he twisted it and cracked it right here thinking that he could unscrew the spring out of the plastic. I think the whole spring maybe it was more sprung. So if we do order a new wheel, I think that will take care of the problem. This little keyway that the landing gear plugs into, it's fine. The screw, the threads and stuff are good. It sucks up good. But the landing did something to this spring and has changed the alignment, because we wanted this linkage rod to be where it's at right now if we're thinking about the plane. And it's just not quite 100%. And being that it's cracked right there, I think we're just going to order another wheel and do that. All right, conclusion is that I bought him a new landing gear. Now, he looked for this front wheel on many websites, and I just went and checked everything. On Tower Hobbies and Horizon Hobby, it didn't have this top part. It was just a spring. And then I looked on Amazon, and it only had the spring. And I went directly on FMS models, and they showed the entire thing in the picture. This whole thing that I'm holding, straight where it won't be out of alignment. $9.99 plus they got me good for $15 in shipping, so 24 something. All right, the conclusion is that I bought a new front landing gear wheel assembly. I looked on Tower Hobbies and Horizon, and they only had just up to the spring. They didn't have this piece here. And that's what Patrick was saying. I also checked on Amazon and on eBay. Same thing, only to the spring. So that tells me this piece can be installed. But directly at FMS Models, they had the entire deal, $9.99. So I got that, and we'll do another video when we're installing it, and we'll have the alignment straight. So when we get the new $85 gear, we'll do another video putting it on. So until then, guys, hey, you'll see me here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't. Adios.